What's going on, guys? I'm back with a brand new What the F edition review. I just watched a movie called Prisoners of the Ghostland, starring Sophia Boutella, Bill Moseley, and the boy, the great, the legend himself, Nicolas Cage. First of all, Nicolas Cage. Good old Nicolas Cage. Let's talk about him. I remember a time when Nicolas Cage was actually a well-respected professional actor. All right. He had movies like Face Off, which in my opinion was his greatest movie yet. His best film to this day. You can argue me down if you want to. Alright. Then he had movies like Con Air, which was an all-around favorite for a lot of people. Me and honestly, I don't think I saw that movie all the way through. Not saying it's a bad movie, I just didn't see it all the way through. But I do know that it had a star-studded cast. A lot of people started their career on that movie. True. And then there's one called Next, which it wasn't really as, popular as a lot of his other movies. But in my opinion, that is a very good movie. Next. It's a very underground special right there for me. Then there was a point in time when Nicolas Cage, for some reason, just completely lost his mind. He completely just snapped. Now, he already wasn't, the most sanest of people. You could tell by his outrageous performances that he gave at time. But something happened to him that just completely took that tree branch in his brain and ripped it right on off. Okay? And then he started to make movies like Color Out of Space, which I actually saw that movie. It was okay. It was okay. It was a extraterrestrial type movie or whatever. It was weird enough, but, I still enjoyed it. And from that spawned even weirder movies like Willy's Wonderland, where he's fighting animatronic creatures. The things you see at Chuck E. Cheese back in the day. Yeah, he's fighting Chuck E. Cheese characters in that movie. All right, enough said. And there's also movies like Pig. He's on a mission to find out who stole his pig. That's what he's doing in this movie. It's pretty much if John Wick's dog had not gotten killed but kidnapped, that would be his main motive. Fortunately. So my question, no. Now he has Prisoners of the Ghostland. All right, and my question is, would this be just another zany, wacky, crazy movie that he's been putting out lately? Would it be onto that collection? Or is he actually getting back to the Nicolas Cage with his right mind? We're about to find out. Let's go. Prisoners of the Ghostland. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, well, unless you are a hardcore Nicolas Cage fan or you're really paying attention to a lot of this, you're not going to know, nor you're going to care. All right. I almost didn't care. It's almost to the point where I see Nicolas Cage's face on a box and I don't care. But I had to jump in and see what was going on with Nicolas Cage lately. So that's all I know. It's all right. It's all right if you don't know. Prisoners of the Ghostland. It's pretty much about a character named Hero, who's a vigilante, who's not writing in the head. Him and his partner, Psychopath. For some reason, they're in a town called Samurai Land. And they decide to rob a bank. All right, because a little boy leads them to the bank for some reason. And his partner, Psychopath, lives up to his name. And he starts to kill a lot of people in that bank robbery. Because guess what? He didn't take his medication. And yes, and it turns out Nicolas Cage didn't take his medication either. I think there was some real life things going on there. And so Nicolas Cage snitches on his friend. It's great, right? He's thrown in prison. Nicolas Cage is thrown in a special containment prison in that town. Years later, a prostitute, I'm not sure what she's supposed to be, goes missing. They want to retrieve her and find her and bring her back. And they use Nicolas Cage to go and get her. That is the premise of the movie, believe it or not. Positives. Jesus Christ. The visuals. The visuals in this movie are very eccentric. I say that because there's a certain visual in this movie that involves like mannequins, like a display of mannequins that actually have people encased inside them. When you take the face off, there's an actual person or a woman inside this mannequin. Now, this makes no sense for the movie, but it is an interesting thing to look at. I have never seen anything done like this in a movie. All right, it looks like an art display of some sorts. Like you could do this for an art gallery, and it would be actually pretty cool. All right, so that got my attention. There's also, for your second and last positive, the ending fight scene. All right, and I say that because I went through so much of this movie wondering why is nothing is really happening. It's an action movie. It's not a lot of. There was the flashback of the murder of the bank, and then after that, there was some brief fighting in the beginning. That was it. That was it for a while. And so I was wondering, where is there going to be more action? You get that towards the end. And it's so crazy because his character doesn't have any swords or guns. He's fighting against samurais and people with guns. He gets a weapon somehow, but at first you're trying to wonder, how is he doing that? Okay? How is he obtaining this fight? Or how is he getting the upper hand on this fight? It's just fun to watch that fight scene, okay? Let's get to those negatives, because there is a lot of them. Negative number 1. Of course, you know I gotta mention this first. The horrible acting skills. I say this because I can't decide if they were acting like this on purpose or if they really just did not care about this film like that. There were a lot of times when the emotion they were giving out was unwarranted. All right, it was unnecessary emotion, and the way that they expressed themselves in here. This guy is a very hated guy. Hero, Nicolas Cage's character. He's very hated in this town, but yeah, it felt like they found everything he did amusing and funny, and the fact that there was a girl that gone missing, how that was funny for some reason. I don't know why they choose to pick that emotion to have, but they did. And it was so odd. And everyone was acting so weird and strange. It just threw me off. It threw me off a lot. And I started to get a little upset about the way they were acting. This actually made me upset. Usually I just kind of laugh the bad acting off, but in this one, no. Second negative. hero, Nicolas Cage's character, was given a certain amount of terms and conditions amongst going to retrieve this girl back to their city. And one of them was he had to wear an outfit that had a lot of bombs strapped to it. Strapped to the neck, strapped to the arms. He had one on his wrist for, her to say her name into it in a certain time period, amount, whatever. And he had some on his testicles. My question about that is, why would you need that many bombs strapped to you? For a lot of guys in here, or anybody watching this, all you need to do is put those bombs on our testicles, and we're not going to fail that mission. We are not going to fail the mission. That's all you need to do. You don't need that many bombs. That was a waste of bombs. The testicle bombs are enough. Trust me. That very precious items down there. Okay. Come on. Oh, man. Another negative about this. The damsel in distress. Now, before I say anything further, if you actually care about what's going on in this movie and you think this is going to spoil it, fast forward a little bit. Fast forward till you get past this negative. Okay? Warning you. So here we go. The character played by Butella, you know what I'm talking about. She is supposed to be the lady who escapes and runs away, right? So she is, quote unquote, the damsel in distress. There is a point in this movie where she reveals that she has fighting skills. She can fight. She can fight. She can battle. She can kick ass. But for some reason, she was not able to defend herself from being kidnapped or able to escape on her own. And they had to waste Nicolas Cage's time in getting her back. They made him go through all of this just to retrieve her. But she can fight. She doesn't need him. She's independent. She's an independent woman, right? She got it. Why did you do that? That decision within itself made me feel like I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time watching this. Nicolas Cage was not needed. Last negative, the most important negative for this review. For a majority of this movie, the plot and the script made absolutely no sense at all. Okay, there were a lot of decisions in this movie that didn't really help or add to the film. It just was nonsense. It was nonsense at most. There's a part in this movie where a character, I forget his name, but it's a samurai guy who protects the city. He's given his own little fight scene or his own little background or, victory fight scene for himself. And it doesn't really apply to the rest of the movie. It could have been left out and the movie would have been the same. We really didn't care about him. In my opinion, he felt like one of the characters that was supposed to be cool with Nicolas Cage. They didn't like him at first, but then he becomes cool to them. They didn't go that route. And so that's where they messed up with him. Honestly. Another part about the movie that really didn't make sense. This movie makes a big deal about finding out who the real villain is. When in reality, the villain is so obvious. The main villain is so obvious. We already know who it is. The big... I'm not going to say anything, man. Okay? If you can't figure it out, then maybe you're the ones that need to be told who the villain was. Or this is a big reveal for you. It's not a surprise who the villain is. All right? They made a big deal about this. I don't know why they did. I don't know why they made a lot of decisions in the movie the way they did. But because of this craziness, I've got to give this a hell nah. Yes, obviously it's a hell nah. I just wasted so much time for that one fight scene at the end. I wasted all that time for that fight scene. It's not worth it. I'm going to say right now, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Do not watch this movie. If you value your time, press that like button, share this video, and subscribe if you haven't.